You're listening to the Decor8 podcast with Patrick Ali and Chad Poole.
All right, intro's over. Let's get into it. What's up, dude?
How you doing?
Just talking about some crazy stuff.
You got a busy weekend ahead of you.
I do have a busy weekend, yep. Let's just say I'm cleaning house.
Oh.
Cleaning house on Monday.
Yeah,
so.
another yard sale or?
Kind of something like that, yeah.
Cool.
Just selling it all off. About 200 million of them.
Wow.
Anyway, we were just talking about it. I got to go in tomorrow morning and get a volunteer, just to clarify, a voluntary COVID test, because I have a procedure on Monday, so. Which is stupid. I hate the word procedure. One of my biggest pet peeves, like if you're getting surgery, don't call it a procedure. Like surgery is, the definition of surgery, which you can look this up, just Rob, if you want. The definition of surgery is being, like if you're being cut open, if there's any type of incision, a procedure that requires an incision. So it's a part of a procedure, but I'm having surgery on Monday.
So my buddy had to get a scope the other day, and it was right before our fantasy football draft.
Yeah.
And he came over, and I didn't know any of this was happening. He came over and like five hours later or something. You could tell he was kind of dehydrated and just wasn't looking good. And he goes, "Yeah, man, I just got out of surgery." I'm like, what? Why are you
drop
here?
His position in the draft?
Yeah, I'm like,
because it's like you don't know how he's going to perform now.
Yeah, I'm like,
you moved to pick 6.
I'm like, what happened? Like, you okay? He's like, yeah, man, I got this. I'm like, so what did they do? You know, his gallbladder, what? Oh, like the scope thing. I'm like, that's not surgery.
Well, what end? North or south, though? That's the difference.
Like a knee.
The mouth.
Oh.
Okay, so the mouth, I think they put you under for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's no incision.
No, there's no incision.
So you just literally walked backwards. You said, well, that's surgery.
No. I'm asking what end, because the only reason I'm asking that is because it determines whether you need anesthesia or not.
Oh.
So there's a bunch of like weird things, but that's my pet peeve with it. If it's surgery, it means you're getting an incision.
So a scope is not a surgery.
So scope is not a surgery. That's a procedure.
So Frank, you're a liar.
Sorry, Frank. Sorry.
Hey, let's
I hope you lose your fantasy football league.
and get scoped again.
We might as well just hop into it too. For anybody who hears that voice, that's Dave Wheatley hanging out with us.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Let's go over your list of surgeries. You have any surgeries?
I had ankle surgery. That's it.
That's it?
I think, when I was a kid, a hernia. But
I've been lucky enough to not really have to, I've had dislocated fingers, playing lacrosse, broken bones, but never had to go under. So I was actually kind of excited when they were like, hey, for this surgery, we're going to have to put you under. Just because it's like for me, like I was explaining about the nasal cannula thing, I just like to experience it once, and then I can determine, like, okay, I'm done. I'm good.
You're like a hippie.
I'm like, yeah. Yeah. Well, the difference
I just like to try things just once. It's just one
difference is
time.
I'm not following Grateful Dead around and trying it multiple times, right? So
sounds like you like to try a lot of different things, though.
Whatever, man. So should we address?
Yeah, how about we should just for one, let's address that football was on yesterday. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I did not expect people to be there. I don't know if you guys knew that was going on before watching the game, but
I didn't know that.
I find it interesting that they have different quantities of people that they'll allow in certain stadiums.
Right.
Yeah. Some none.
Yeah.
Some 6,000. Some.
Well, I was
15.
tuning in to watch, like, what's this presentation going to look like? Because, obviously Sunday's all of the games, but they said, I think Al Michaels was saying that the Chiefs and there was only one other team that are allowing fans. I kind of find to me, that's kind of a disadvantage.
Yeah.
If you got the home crowd behind you, because on TV, they sounded pretty loud to me.
Well, and they definitely, I think the Chiefs played really well, especially yesterday.
Well, they won, so yeah, I would say.
Well, yeah, but I'm
well
saying
too.
like
As far as points than the other team.
That one guy
The
threw
score.
the basketball to the other. He shot a field goal. It was great. No.
Well, for those that don't know, Patrick is in my fantasy football league this year, and he's who was your first pick? Tyler Conklin, because he's your mom's friend or something?
No. My first pick was Lamar Jackson.
Oh, okay.
So
But like your 6th or 7th was Tyler Conklin.
He was in there, yeah.
Yeah.
He was definitely in there.
Okay.
And sorry, Ty. He unfortunately got dropped pretty quick.
Oh, you dropped him?
I did drop him, yeah.
Ouch.
I just didn't want to take the risk.
You have what, 7 kickers on your team?
Well, 8, but that's fine. Both my flex are both kickers.
Flex spots.
I had 2 people that I came into the draft and I wanted. I wanted Lamar Jackson and I wanted for sure Matt Prater. Those were the only 2 that I cared about. Other than
Well,
that,
one of them you can get easily, and then good kudos for you for getting Lamar Jackson. But this guy called me yesterday at like 6:45. He's like, "Hey, call me ASAP," and I'm thinking it's something with the podcast.
he didn't answer, so I just said, "Call me ASAP."
And I'm like, "Hey, dude, what's up? You know, I've got my daughter in my car. We're going to do a curbside pickup thing." He goes, "So this running back position thing." He goes, "If I play a guy and he plays tonight, I can't like switch him out after, right?" And I'm like, "No, that's called fantasy football." No. Once you play the guy, you can't change him.
There was a reason why I said that. I was asking if I play a running back position, am I able to switch out because you get 2 running backs, 2 flex. So it's like, well, can I is all my positions like when week 1 starts, are all my positions locked for that week when the first game starts?
No, you have
not
until
necessarily
game time.
like until I can switch out these guys once they play, they're locked.
Yes.
But if I was like, okay, game start at 8:30 tonight, is my entire lineup locked for the entire week?
Nope.
That's where I just poor choice of words, I guess.
Well, and you made a great call. Played Duke Johnson yesterday. 1.4 points. If we can get a round of applause. 1.4 points.
I am number one. Yeah. So
And
that was
fortunately, he's playing me this week. So.
good. Yeah. So we'll see what
Bragging
happens.
rights. But hey, let's talk to Dave since he's here and
All right.
not about fantasy
Hey, Dave,
football.
sorry. Are you doing fantasy at all or no?
This is my first year in a while that I am not.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I have a job.
Sorry.
Yeah,
You're
Sorry.
busy. Yeah.
it's one of those things.
Exactly.
busy.
Somebody's got to pay the bills.
It's one of those things called the job. Were you nervous at all with a lot of people didn't play this year because of everything that's going on, COVID? They think games are going to get canceled and stuff like that.
No, it was just a
Lack
poor
of
timing.
interest.
Yeah. And yeah.
Well, you were
I was on vacation.
You were on vacation, too.
Yeah. So I just kind of bailed.
yeah.
The day
To me,
before.
to me, doing that is a vacation. I'm like, hey, babe, I got this stupid fantasy football thing I got to do. I'm all jacked up inside, but I'm just you know,
Yeah.
it's going to take 3 hours. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
But yeah, no, it's fun. But let's talk to Dave a little bit about the industry.
Let's get into
He's
it,
an
man.
industry expert.
Yeah, and I'm
refer to
actually
him.
happy that you. So thanks for obviously joining us. But
Yes,
like
thank
you were one of the few people that were specifically asked to come in and talk to me when I interviewed because just your knowledge, you, Melissa, Ulrike, Johan, and Brett. So that's
Right.
because I had a very weird.
Wait, you were interviewed by all of them?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's pressure.
It's a lot of pressure, and at the time I didn't realize it, but then as I started to get obviously deeper into the politics and the organization chart of the company, I realized that like everybody that I had in there, I mean, managers interview you anyway, but those were all like the big people here, so it was really interesting. But my first impression of Dave, he comes in because you were getting ready to go on vacation or you're doing something. I can't remember exactly what you're doing, but he comes in. And if you ever meet Dave has a very much like what I call a California vibe. Very laid back, relaxed, chill dude. And he has like khaki shorts on, I don't know, an REM shirt or something. And he has some
REM shirt?
I don't know. And then one of his pair of shoes with REI, whatever. I don't know. I'm thinking, I don't know. And then he has a pair of those shoes that he has that have like the Chinese writing on them, those ones that you have now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this is like the best. This is the best place that I've ever worked. I can wear this every day, and it was instantly no. But no, it was really it was
Little
it
to
was,
know that was a feeler for you to see if you'd come in dressed like that your first
So my
day.
second interview, I can't. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it was really cool to get kind of your insight early on, and you said something to me then that really resonated with me, and I want to get into it because I imagine this is something that you've developed over time. Is that you told me you can do anything you want to do here and be anything you want to be here. Just have the confidence to put yourself forward. Don't be afraid of anybody. Nobody's going to tell you no. And if people do tell you no, it's because they've done it, they've experienced it, and it's failed. So
Right.
I appreciate that. But talk about like,
Sounded nice.
right. Talk, and he's your boss too. That's the best part.
I know.
Talk about your early days in the industry. How did you even get into this industry?
That was so long ago. And actually, I didn't think I was interviewing you because I was a manager. I thought they just had me in there because I'm old. they wanted a senior citizen perspective.
Go see if this new kid's cool or not.
Yeah, so I wear young kid shoes to make me feel better about myself.
I had a lot of substitutes that did that, so that's all right.
No, exactly. Well, and ironically, Chad and I have the same brand of shoes on right now.
Oh, really?
We're twinning.
So we're twinning with the Vans.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I was going to wear a full suit today too, just to really impress my boss. I was going to go home and change at lunch, make this really professional.
Then you would realize he'd call you a loser for it.
He called me a loser, and we had dolls all over the place and
Not
stuff.
looking at it. Anyways, back.
Back to the industry.
Yeah.
What was your question?
How'd you get into the industry? We can't ramble too much this episode. We got a lot of information we want. How'd you get into the industry? How'd you get started?
It was accidental, actually. So when I started, it was a part-time thing. Mm-hmm. I was working full-time, but it was just a job, and I was paying my way through school, and I started. My wife's cousin was the customer service manager of the first company that I worked for in this industry. So, I'm going to school. I needed a job, so I'm answering the phone, being a customer service rep, and and next thing you know, so actually before I even started day one, I was picked up. I lived in Jackson, Michigan, and the people from our company came and they picked me up on the way to Chicago. So my very first day was at a trade show.
Oh, really?
So the first 3 days, there was no shadow. They just kind of said sink or swim. Good luck.
Yeah.
So, but I go to the show, and it was back when the NSGA had a show, the National Sporting Goods Association. And I go there, and it was back when trade shows were huge too, and companies like Nike and Adidas and Fila and all these companies had huge booths that were manufactured, many of them multiple levels, stories.
Right. Yeah.
And that's when they also had, their paid endorsers, there to go to the shows.
Yeah.
So, I met Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh, that's
And growing up as a sports junkie, I thought I died and went to heaven. I'm going, what is this, And then I learned that, I was just selling letters and numbers after that. So it kind of lost some of the
dream
cool.
job lost the luster.
Yeah, it did. So, but it was, anyway, that's how it got started. And then, 24 years later, I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. And through all of that time, I mean, that's because you said you've been in 24 years.
Something like that.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I mean, through that time, the transitions of just whether it's technology, process, product, I mean, there's probably been a huge shift since when you first started selling letters and numbers.
For sure.
To now. Kind of talk about that. I mean, how often did you see changes early on, or was it something that where you just one day woke up and you're like, shit, we got all these products, we got all of this stuff now?
So the longer you're in it, of course, that time kind of blends together, and it seems like it happened a lot faster, but it was pretty gradual along the way. I mean, and to not to date myself, but we were using a chisel and things like that to cut out, material and stuff back in the day, and now everything's run by some type of computer design, and goes to some type of automatic, whether it's a laser or you're cutting with water or a knife and things like that is all computer driven today. But it was it happened. I came at a good time too, because it was the mid 90s or early 90s when I started. But technology really blossomed a lot after that.
For sure.
The home computer is already out. But, we did everything originally, writing the orders on paper, and people would come by, pick them up, and take them to production. You'd fulfill the order. And now everything's obviously all entered digitally. Most of the time now customers enter stuff, online, and it just comes right through and goes to your production flow.
I kind of, I'm lucky that I got into the industry in a time where, there's so many big players as far as cutters, materials, stuff like that. When you first were in the industry, was plotters basically used just for like their original purpose? Because I don't even think people realize that like plotters were never intended for just vinyl at one point in time. They were for a different world or different industry.
Correct. So not to correct you or anything, but when I started, there were no plotters.
Yeah. Oh, really?
They're hand
No,
cutting.
it's sadly that's true. But they are actually there shortly after I started. But, we had to ride our horses to work, remember? Yeah. It's a little pre-engine, pre-motors, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm going to get them all out of the way so you guys can't make fun of me.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. There you go.
No, that said, plotters came literally just a couple years after, but they did exist in the sign industry. And there was a machine out there called the Gerber. Gerber's the brand, and I'm trying to remember. It's Gerber Edge still exists today, but I think it was like the Model 4 or something like that. But it was a cutter that had a keyboard built right into it. You had little cartridges that you could plug in for different fonts. Yeah. And you literally typed out the words in a little monochromatic screen across the top, a little LED screen, would show you what you're typing, and everything was sprocket fed then, so you had to have this hole punch pattern into your vinyl. But they were made for sign vinyl, the things to decorate your storefront windows or automotive decals and things like that. Sure. But very, very simplistic. And a lot of the things that they cut then too wasn't even sign vinyl. They cut ruby lith or amber lith and things like that would be used to burn screens for screen printing.
Really?
So yeah.
That's incredible.
And things have certainly come a long way.
Yeah. Well, I think about that is it's so interesting because I remember when the first, like for me, the way that I can relate to that is when the first Cricut came out, same thing. It was cartridges and whatever was on the cartridge. Sure. That's all the cut file you got. And now to be able to manipulate, and as I'm learning so much more like from Chad about printing, like print and cut is like the way that you can manipulate programs and softwares to make your cutters and your printers and things like that do so many different things now. It's just it's crazy to see how, I mean, there was a need for it, obviously, because with technology you have to keep moving forward, but just to see at one point in time when you could only get a Times New Roman font, you had to cut them all out, and then you were lucky that if your machine wasn't off of its calibration a little bit to actually get that and not waste any material. Now I feel like it's incredible to see the different types of softwares and stuff that are out there.
Yeah, the precision and the options and things like that are really unlimited now. So it really comes down to about how much time and effort you want to put into the weeding process more than anything. But anything you can create, you can cut it. And that's a matter of whether you want to spend the time.
Do you remember, we were talking about this, I think it was like a month ago. Do you remember the resin printers?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was
Patrick probably has no idea.
I have no idea what a resin printer
is. So there's it's actually printed instead of with ink or with toner and things like that you primarily see today. It was a resin ribbon technology. And we were actually, the company I was with at the time was the first to come out with a digital printable material for that. Which was fantastic. So, but the trouble was they were really expensive. The print heads would damage super easy. The ribbons, because of the technology, you tend to get a lot of banding and things like that. So I probably disappointed more customers that we sold them to than made them happy.
I ruined a lot of shops.
So, yeah, exactly. No, we had to make up a lot.
Well, that was really the inclination, no pun intended, of the birth of printing on substrates. So
it absolutely was.
It's kind of interesting. What would you say, product-wise, what do you think throughout, I mean, like you said, 24 years in this industry is a long time. What do you think was the most important product that you've seen, let's say for just longevity purposes, just for lasting purposes, that, hey, it's still around today, it was innovative then, it's still useful now? I mean, would you just say a plotter, or would you say, sublimation? To me, I've been in the industry 9 years now, but Easy Subly to me is still one of it's crazy innovative.
It's definitely at the top, yeah.
I mean, so there's been a lot of evolutions of things that have, really kind of changed. I mean, you can go back to just the earlier, lettering and numbering material. It used to be super thick, the vinyl, and it was made out of plastic primarily. And even the shift to go from PVC to urethane-based products, which allowed it to be more flexible and softer on the shirt. That was a pretty big evolution at its time, and it really made its home. And then, today the technology there too, you can make them thinner and stretchier, and you can put textures and all kinds of other things. So it's evolved drastically, because back in the day you're happy when you had 12 or 15 colors, and I can remember really pushing other companies to help us make a reflective that you could cut this way that could go onto apparel. They had it as in a sticker form for for vehicle graphics and things like that, but there was nothing that could go onto clothing or, a jersey or a backpack or whatever it was. Yeah. So to do those things and all those special effects, it was another big evolution in the business. And then, plotters actually, since the first ones came out that I learned on, kind of in the mid to late 90s, that technology really hasn't pivoted much. It's basically the same thing.
Right.
The graphics software and things like that, that's really evolved considerably. And, but the price has come down. So it's no different than a VCR or microwave or, a flat screen now.
Yeah.
They're dirt cheap. They used to be super expensive.
Yeah. You know what a VCR is?
Which is,
I do know what a VCR is.
Okay, I was just curious.
That's what I was about to say. I still have a VCR. Look at just Rob's like, I don't know what that is.
Sure.
You're a film guy. You should know what that is.
What is that, like for music?
No, God, okay. Anyways, we're gonna move on from that. No, but I absolutely agree with you. I mean, it was cool because one thing that I really wanted to take on when I came here was learn kind of the history of where this all started from, and it was cool to talk to people like Johan and Brett and yourself that can kind of educate me on the start of heat transfer vinyl and how we came about plotters and stuff like that. And the cool thing is I got to travel so soon that I got to meet up with a lot of people that have been doing this for a long, long time.
Sure.
And it is crazy to me to see now that I can take, say like a Cricut, and I'm just saying that because it's probably the most user-friendly and entry-level type of plotter that you can get, and I can cut any type of design out of it, all the way to now like US Cutter has their Prism Cut. That, I mean, the amount of detail that you can get out of something like that is incredible. But a lot of that, you're right, goes back to the software and the driver that actually runs that machine.
Of course, but that's a significant evolution too. Even though the technology of how the actual plotter functions hasn't changed much, the cost structure and the availability to such a much more broad market now has really changed the whole industry. So it's a pretty important thing that you mentioned. So.
Going back to when you were talking about specialty products and specialty effects and stuff like that, I remember when there was not much in the way of offering for a metallic or something like that other than 3M.
Sure.
And 3M was so expensive because it was actually made with real glass beads in it. But I mean, the price point was like outrageous.
Really?
Oh yeah, and it was a fantastic product. It was ANSI certified or something like that. So, construction workers can wear them. So you have to have a certain visibility when you're on the road and stuff like that. But there wasn't really an option for just apparel, like fashion apparel.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you'd have to purchase that stuff, I mean, I'm sure it's still out there today, but it was like $300-400 a roll.
Really?
Yeah, it is. And probably some of the limitations of its success is because it was so pricey, you had to have it for only the people who had to have that certification or, would be willing to pay that much. And usually it was a business buying it versus a individual who just wanted something to look cool on their shirt. So.
Or if you've got enough money and you're like, I got to have that, right? That's like, well, I'm going to drive for a Ferrari.
Patrick money?
Yeah, Patrick money. All that podcast money rolling in.
Exactly.
Got a Ubi.
Yeah, so, I know. I hear you're negotiating with Spotify right now.
I'm negotiating. We finally figured out iHeart, so now we're on iHeart. Spotify, listen, they took the Rogan deal. I offered them a little bit more. I was like, it's whatever. We'll figure it out.
Oh, well.
I mean, I like Rogan better too.
Easy.
So you and I have known each other for a long time. Yeah. This kind of goes back to what you were just talking about of influencers in the industry. Joe and I were talking about it on Joe's episode, but we know a lot of people in the same circles. And to your point, kind of piggybacking off of that is a lot of people in this industry, whether we work for the same company or different companies, just through, meeting at trade shows or different events and stuff like that, educational events, we do keep in touch, and it's a close-knit community, and people share their thoughts and opinions, and I think that's really unique to our industry. And I know that you and I still talk to a lot of people in the same circles and collaborate. So it's unique to.
It really is, and I think it's a testament to how great it is, and it's part of the reason why you have so many people who've been in it for so long. I don't think people necessarily come into it thinking, oh, I found my perfect career path.
Exactly.
Right? This is where I want to spend the rest of my life. But you get in, and it's actually really, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And some of the ways people use the products and things like that, whether the ones you sell directly or not, or the services you provide, it could be somebody else in the business, like you said, that you know, and it's people enjoy it and they don't really want to leave. And so even though I felt a living at it, and it's been wonderful.
And
actually,
because so many people are so open and willing to help and willing to learn, you learn so many different other avenues. Like, it was funny, we were just talking about this today as we were talking about the Michaels meeting that we had last week of like, I came in as just a salesperson, and then Brett gave me Carol.
You always say corral, like you're corralling like a horse. Or
Corel Draw, and then also gave me, some other softwares like Figure It Out. But through that, I've learned that, I've been utilized for other things. I've been able to be utilized in marketing. I've been able to be utilized in the, running our software for our printers and linking those up. And like, because you have that, you hit the nail on the head. This might not be what you originally intended.
right.
But because you're learning so much, and because everyone in the industry, even at trade shows, different companies, competitors, non-competitors, whatever, that you learn so many different avenues of this business, that anywhere you go, you can find your career path here. Maybe sales isn't your thing and marketing is, or maybe marketing is not your thing, but, profiling is, or running a print production, whatever. You can find those things through this. And I think that that's really important, especially for the people. And why I love this podcast so much is that the people that we bring in here are those people that have been so open with others and able to teach and let them learn from them and just figure out, their path in life. So,
you know what's funny is, yourself, Johan, I believe Joe, myself, a lot of people in this industry, and a lot of people we were just talking about, all started in customer service.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's where you really cut your teeth, right? And you learn it and you understand it. Russ was the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
We had him on.
Yeah.
It's just kind of ironic and it's kind of fun. But I shout out to our customer service team. They do a great job.
Yeah.
I know you had just mentioned a couple weeks back that you had sat with them for half a day or something.
Yeah, I got to sit for half a day.
And you told me afterwards, you're like, I learned so much just from sitting with them and learning and understanding our customer base and what they do and having appreciation for that. So big shout out to them. But
for sure,
that's an interesting thought I had there. So
it's hard to know how much goes into every different aspect of the job, and so you sit in their shoes for a little while.
Yeah,
I do want to comment real quickly. You guys both lucked out with when you joined the company, because we're a very travel forward company. We all are on the road a lot, and we're small, so you typically are gone, and you guys came in, pretty close to just COVID time where nobody's going anywhere. And so you didn't get the rookie treatment, because the only reason we bring new people in is to carry our bags and stuff like that.
That's it.
Pay the bill.
Go get me a coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Somebody shine my shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, you guys, you skated out. You guys are, I don't know if you're millennials or not, but it seems like a millennial move.
Yeah.
I don't think listen, I've paid my dues. Being on the road as a technician, I think nowhere near the amount that you've been, but I think one day we counted, I was gone for 160 days out of the year. So
it does become part of you, and and I'm just teasing. We we don't have you guys do any of that kind of stuff too much.
Not me, Patrick. We're supposed to go to Fargo, right?
Yeah, we're going to Fargo.
For Beyond the Rolls for Kirk's podcast. Perfect. You can carry my bags on.
First two people ever to choose to go to Fargo.
Right. Well, I want to go. I want to know.
Sorry, Kirk.
But
I like the show, man.
I want to go in the middle of winter, though. That's the only time I'll go.
Well, I don't. Okay. Well. So, real quick, let's talk about your current role, because obviously you're my boss, and I want to talk about that. But how did you get started with Siser? So, how long have you been here?
Coming up on 4 years.
Okay.
So, yeah. And, as you guys mentioned, a lot of us know each other and have been around the business a while. And Johan and I were friends before he came here. And Siser North America was even started. And And we've just stayed in touch. And it was just one of those things. We always got along. We competed against each other for a number of years, which was fun.
Yeah, I was going to say, Johan's not a competitor at all.
Yeah, no, not even in the slightest. It's one of the things that we have in common. Neither one of us are worried so much about winning, but we hate to lose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's just, that drives us nuts. Yeah. So anyway, it was just one of those things, and we had talked and we had discussed my coming over and bringing some of my experiences to the Siser team. And it didn't happen. And then a couple of years later, we talked again, and then finally it was the right move. But it was tough for me just because, I'd spent 20 plus years at this other place.
Sure.
And it's hard to walk away, especially when it's part of your DNA. It's your family. Yeah. It's what you know. There's a certain comfort level in that job security, and there's uncertainties anytime you change. Yeah. And you guys both know that. You both just recently changed as well.
Yeah.
So you too. Yeah. Rob
just
too.
Rob's in the corner.
Just Rob. So anyway, so it was, and we made the jump, and I know you're going to ask me about the title and what it means to be a brand manager. I have no idea.
Yeah.
We when you're here, you do whatever needs to be done.
I literally had the question.
Yeah. So no,
I'm
exactly.
like looking at your title the other day. I'm like, brand. So what is it that you do exactly to become a brand manager?
The most important thing that I do, because I'm usually first in the office, is make coffee in the morning.
There you go.
So other than that, everything else is pretty much gravy.
Well,
so if I accomplish anything else, Johan's usually pretty happy with me. I just get the coffee made and I don't mess it up.
I have to call out. I don't know who it is, but we've got to figure this out. So I generally try to get in right around 8:30, right before, and I come in and there's always just about half a cup of coffee there, just waiting for me. It's like,
who does
guy
that?
or gal, fill it up. That's
Rob.
not cool.
It's Rob.
Is it you?
No, I'm usually the guy when it's full. When you get to it, that's usually me.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't drink coffee.
I can answer this because my office is directly across.
You've got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So when people know that you're coming in, and now especially because you have to take your temperature so you can hear the beep.
Of course.
Even if it's a full pot, we go and dump it till there's a little bit left right when you walk in.
Well, someone mistook me for Ulrike today because she came in and she goes, I don't know who would do that. And she was mad. I said, listen, I was in your shoes 2 times this week. But
no, it's a pet peeve. Don't ever do that. Whoever's doing that stuff.
Well, I got called out my first month here.
Yeah.
I took it down to that. And Johan was just like waiting at the
coffee is taken very seriously around here.
And I was like, I'm sorry. I this is my first real boy job.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, it's Keurig. That doesn't really translate for me.
And we're a really laid back company. We truly are. So I'm saying you could burn the place down. You could lose it $1 million, but don't leave the coffee pot empty.
Screw up coffee.
If you do that, you could get fired for that.
Yeah, for real.
If you're caught.
Johan and I were talking one day. We were talking
one morning
in my office or something, and all of a sudden we're talking, and he just hears something, and it triggers him, and he runs. He goes, "There's no beans in there." I'm like, "How do you just know that sound?" And he was fuming.
Yeah. For anybody that doesn't know, our coffee pot, you load the beans in the top, it grinds before you make coffee.
That's what I have the problem with.
He knew the sound.
So he knows this.
He knew he knew exactly what was going on, and I'm like, that's impressive. I'll give you kudos.
That's
there.
awesome.
But no, going back to an actual conversation. Sorry, we got sidetracked on the coffee there. In some ways, I know you're being a little bit humble about it, but you do have a reputation for representing a brand, and you do it very well. And your newer role is being mostly in front of retail executives and a lot of higher ups in that industry, in that world. What is that like, representing the brand, and how do you navigate that to be able to do it successfully?
I wish there was like this secret recipe and you can just say, follow these 3 easy steps. But I really approach, because they're customers.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter in the way I communicate or speak to somebody who's working out of their house or a senior VP at a multi-billion-dollar company. It doesn't really change my approach, So one, being humble, trying to offer value anytime you communicate, and also making sure too that anytime you're on the phone or now on a Zoom meeting or if you're face to face, make sure that they understand they're the most important thing that you're doing right now. Don't get distracted by your phone. Don't pay attention to anything else, and give them the time and attention.
Yeah.
And then it's all about, following up.
Yep.
Because, and ironically, Johan and I were talking about just business in general yesterday, just one of those rare coffee conversations in the morning. And business is not that complicated. It's not very hard. We as people tend to make it difficult because we goof up and we do things wrong from time to time, and that creates issues. But so even dealing with the companies like that, it can be a little intimidating the first couple of times you do it, because you let it get in your head of who you're talking to, or this is a really big company, but they're all just people too. So it's really not that tough, but it's the stakes may be a little bigger sometimes because of the scale of what they're able to do versus a smaller customer. But to me, no more important. So
well, and I think that being a representation of a brand that's so strong too has got to be pretty easy, right? It's not, well, I wouldn't say easy, but a product that you can stand by.
I mean, you can just call it out what it is. Yeah. That's why I'm doing it, because it's that easy. They had to give me something other than coffee, because the brand sells itself.
It's
now,
your game. It's your game to lose, right? You know what I mean? If you have a strong brand behind you already, really the way that it will kind of vary from road to road or lane to lane, whatever you want to talk about, is that if you're not giving it the attention that you're talking about, and it's super important. And the reason why it's a hard question to answer for you is because it seems so natural to you. And like, even when you're on the phone talking to people, whether you're talking to Michael's and you're talking to an executive there, or you're talking to a small screen print shop, whatever it may be, I've never heard your conversation sway any different. You don't treat or talk to anyone any certain way. It's just, this is me. We build a relationship, we make it work, and if it doesn't work, that's fine. We figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and that's true. And it's but it's kind of how this company is. And I had the great fortune too to time things right. When I came in 4 years ago, the brand was really surging, and the team that is still here, but the ones that preceded my involvement did a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
They went through the tough times, and when you're scraping to get somebody to recognize you or to return a phone call, they did all that hard work.
Yeah.
And they do make it's made it easier.
Yeah.
Today the brand is recognized, and people do want to do business with you.
Yep.
And part of that is because of the reputation, but that's because of the way our culture is and the way we treat everybody. And I'd say the way I talk to our customers is no different than anybody else on our team. We all have that sort of same philosophy and same approach. A little different stylistically from person to person, but genuinely we care, and we love our company. We love each other. We fight with each other, but we still get along. It's a family here. It's a really great place.
So we're not the only two that had an easy start then, I guess, huh? No.
Touche.
But no, going kind of back to that is Michael's. Obviously, everybody knows that that water's for you too if you want it.
No, I was just looking. My espresso's empty, and I figured you could go get me some.
But talking about Michael's, because we're huge in Michael's, especially right now. We're starting to grow more and more there. But that is your baby. You know what I mean? That's something that you, since basically day one here, you've really taken on that as your primary customer and able to build that relationship. Talk about how you acquired Michael's as your customer, because I think it's kind of a funny story too, but also what the future holds for those type of retail accounts.
Yeah, so I mean, Michael's has been a spectacular opportunity, not only for Siser, but for me personally. I'd never worked with a big retailer before, not in this capacity. And they actually sought us out, which goes to show and proves my point of what the company had done prior to my being here. Yeah, so they were just in the beginning phases. Nothing had been sold yet. No agreements had been signed or anything. But our, Brett, who we all know, was the one taking care of them. And he's also at the same time growing into the sales manager position and things like that. And he was extremely busy. But this shows the sort of humility and kindness and openness that I was received.
Right.
And he could have been more threatened by Mike coming in with a lot of years experience and thinking I'm going to take some. He gave me Michael's and said, "Can you do this?
I need help.
I'm really crazy busy and I don't have time to do this." And it's blown into a wonderful opportunity for all of us. But that it just kind of shows the character of Brett Murray, who's just a phenomenal friend and a great guy to work with. So anyway, but it's grown significantly. We just had they just did another reset, which is where they changed the floor layout of products and things like that, and so we added another 80 some SKUs with them just last week. We got a heat press in there now.
That's awesome.
We got accessories, so it's more than just rolls of our material. So it was a pretty exciting reset. And any time you grow in your space with a retailer is pretty significant. So it's very important to our team, and clearly it's
I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
providing some value to Michael. So this is great.
No, I just wanted you to look at that guy real quick.
No, I don't want to see this.
For whatever reason, can we get behind the story? Why are you so afraid of that?
I just don't like him, man. We'll put
But
it
a
like
little
that.
box.
No, the doll.
Oh,
He's scared of the doll.
I'm afraid
It
of
is
clowns.
kind of a
I'm afraid
creepy
of clowns,
doll.
and they want to talk about the afraid of clowns.
No,
But anyways,
I've been hiding that behind there for a long time because we weren't supposed to talk about this for a little while. I think it was our first podcast. I was like, and by the way, guys, coming soon is, and they're like, yeah, you can't say that yet. I'm like, okay, well, we can cut that out. But now we can talk about it.
Sure.
So when did we come up with the idea for let's brand our own press and put in Michael's? Was that due to some success we were seeing with Michael's, or was it, something we've just been missing for a long time, and let's take a shot at it?
Well, I mean, so Siser sold heat presses and things like that. And, the problem is not really the problem, but the market always used to be more catered towards, small business and bigger businesses that did decorating. So the equipment that was sold and things like that in there was a little bit more industrial, no different on the plotter size, that has changed and evolved too. So the press was the same thing, and we only made one kind of press. And so really this is the same industrial quality, the same build as all the bigger ones. It's just we shrunk the size down a little bit to make it more user-friendly at home. And so that's what it is. It's a little 9x12 machine, but it's functional for just about anything people want to decorate at home. And it hits a price point. But before, the bigger ones were just, they're more expensive than most people would want to pay or can afford to pay for,
I think
whether it's a hobby or a small business even out of their house. So.
I think it's a perfect balance between those that are using a home iron and want to graduate, but like you said, they're afraid of making that $1,800, $2,000 purchase. It's just not within the budget. It's a great price point. It has a digital readout on your time and temperature. It's got a pressure adjustment, everything you need to do to be efficient and stay efficient.
Correct.
Which is somewhat the difficulty with the home iron. And I like the fact that it's lightweight. Not right now, but
sure.
In the past when people would travel, and do shows or sporting events quite a bit and do customization on the spot, I think it's 30 pounds.
Right.
So you can throw it in the car. I think it's a great offering.
And you touched on one of the key pieces that really differentiates it from how most people applied stuff at home. Time and temperature is, pretty easy to measure both of those. Right. But with an iron, it's challenging because you want to get the same time and temperature across your entire graphic.
Right.
Yeah.
So if it's a little left chesty thing that you can get on with one press and the iron covers it all, you're fine.
Yep.
But the one variable that's also critical is pressure.
Yes.
And that is very subjective when it comes to an iron. How hard do I push and things like that. This has even, consistent pressure across. I have a technical support background too, with tech supporting how to apply stuff and pitfalls people come into when they use heat applied graphics. Probably 95% of the errors, like if somebody has an edge lifting or something like that, it's almost always a pressure issue.
Yeah, I would
agree.
And sometimes it can be from the machine. Other times it can be a seam in the apparel that's causing it to be uneven, and then part of the design doesn't get applied properly.
Yeah.
A heat press eliminates most all of those.
Yep.
They can still happen, and there's tips and tricks and all kinds of stuff on websites and the videos and things like that that we shoot to help support people. But that the pressure's key, and it'll be one of the greatest things. So for $350,
you can't beat it.
It's really going to be tough to beat, and I think that's a price point that a lot of people will respond to. So I'm anxious to see how it does this Christmas.
I see a lot of Christmas gifts coming this year.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not buying you one though, but
Well, that's okay.
all right. Anyway, but when you start to get these ideas of developing new products, is that something that you're coming up with, or is that more of something that that somebody like Michael's is recognizing? Hey, this would make sense.
No, pretty much all good ideas are mine.
No collaboration whatsoever. Go get me some more coffee, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
No, I mean, so the heat press has been around a long time, and it was just about getting.
Yeah, what year did you invent the heat press? Dave?
Exactly.
With your
It was
monocle
right
and
after
your
the wheel.
Yeah.
So and then the internet. So sorry, Al Gore. I did it. Yeah. So the press was there. It was really just about kind of more about timing than anything, and timing we all know is pretty critical in life. It's sometimes it's better to be lucky than anything else. So it was really just about those things making sense. And, we've been doing business with Michael's since I've been here. Heat Press has been around long before that. And we just now plugged it into their store. So, you do the math.
Can we talk about anything else that's headed into Michael's? I know we've got some tools.
Yeah, the weeder, which is, people go crazy for our weeder.
That's like the holy grail at a show. If you give somebody like a new weeder or squeege,
also probably the most ripped off.
I was going to say, give somebody or it gets stolen from the booth.
Yeah, I usually carry about 12 in my backpack, so just don't take them on the plane.
Yeah.
But no, it's so those are in there now. We're testing some things in some smaller quantities of stores to see how they do around the sublimation area. So that can be pretty cool if that takes off and people respond to it. And then we have little art packs that we're selling now too. So, 100 pieces of art for pretty inexpensive. It comes in multicolor and single color and every different file format too. So no matter what type of cutter, if it's a bigger plotter or if you have a silhouette or a Cricut or whatever, a Brother scan and cut, it works for all of them. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to be an artist. You don't have to be, you can literally the basis of this is it's a one-stop shop for the retail folks where you can get everything you need there, from our vinyl to the press to the artwork.
Sure.
And you make it accessible for everybody, and you don't have to be an expert because nobody is coming out of the gate.
Right.
Everybody has to learn, right? So I think that those are some really cool tools. I know we have some new patterns coming out based towards holidays, and
we have a lot of things coming. We have a ton of things coming up, that we're partnering with Michael's for too. And even some of those, I just don't want to tip our hat too much to where other people can go out and kind of copy or come in at the same time we do. Because that's, usually the sincerest form of flattery, right? When, people are imitating or stealing your ideas, which is good. But we do want to try to be first to market if we can.
234, Rob, just so you can cut this part out. But no, that's all good. But no, so where do you see? I mean, you've been around. We've already joked about the age and the wheel and everything else. But where do you see the next big thing happening in the apparel industry? For years there, it was DTG. Was the big thing. I'm kind of hearing sublimation now. But what are your thoughts from folks that you talk to?
Yeah, so it's again, it depends on where you're at and what part of the industry you play in. Sublimation's also been around as long as I've been in this business too.
Sure.
And it's just now getting to a price point where it's usable by more people.
Yep.
And that's that biggest change that we talked about when cutters went from $1,800 or $2,000 a piece down to $200 or $300. You've changed the landscape.
You're hitting
now.
A different market.
Yeah, and at the same time, that whole evolution of the online marketplace, whether it's Amazon or Walmart's marketplace or Etsy or Facebook groups and things like that, people have a platform to sell. One of the great things Michael's did last year in 2019, they reached back out to all of their customers to really try to identify what they're doing, why they come to their store, what things they want, how they can serve them better, really smart things that their leadership chose to do, to position them to grow better and to provide better services and stuff for their clients. But they learned when they did that 30% of what is bought in a Michaels store is used to make something else that's sold.
Oh,
you think of how much stuff is in one of those stores. That's a lot of product.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily tie directly to what we do. It could be somebody, making paintings to sell. It could be somebody who's making wreaths or whatever for decoration. A lot of different stuff that they have. But a good chunk of it, too, centers around the technology that we play in and where it's and we often, because of our history, think of just things you wear.
Right.
But it's also...
It's a big world.
Placemats and napkins and wedding stuff and invitations and, it goes all over the place. Pillows and shower curtains, whatever. It's anything fabric-based you can decorate with heat transfer vinyl. And that's part of what makes it cool is now it's so diverse what people do. It's really unlimited. Yeah. And it's great. It gives us a ton of content to talk about, to create new ways to show other people how to make new products.
The fun stuff, playing around with things.
Yeah. So I don't know. Sublimation is really cool. And when Siser launched Easy Subly a little while back, the uniqueness of that and what made that so cool to people is sublimation, is a process, right? It's a scientific process where something goes from a solid to a gas and it skips the liquid stage. And a lot of people don't really care about that, but that's actually what it's doing. And that gas dyes a certain material. And it dyes, it bonds to polyester. So for those people who are out there who don't know what sublimation is, typically most anything that you decorate is white polyester. Yep. So it's either a white polyester t-shirt, or if it's a mouse pad or a coaster, it's white and it has a polyester coating on it for that dye to attract and bond to. And the great thing about it is you have unlimited color, and then it never goes anywhere, and it has no feel.
Softest hand you can get.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what we call a hand, right? Is what it feels like when it's applied to something, and there's zero hand to it. So because it's just a gas that
becomes part
dies
of it.
right in and becomes part of that substrate. So anyway, it's going to be really fun to watch and see how people respond to that. But that could be the next big thing. And the great thing about whether it was, DTG or different ways of screen printing or heat transfer vinyl or sublimation, whatever, none of these decorating methods do everything.
No.
But they all have their place and they complement each other. And there's different times you want to use one over the other. Yeah. And I think that's part of the, the fun, cool part of our business.
I used to talk when we would go to trade shows, I used to talk to customers all the time, and they'd say, hey, I'm looking to do this, 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 and this. And I said, listen, if we had one piece of equipment that did it all, none of us would be here right now.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just there's certain things for certain decoration, ways to decorate, but there are pieces of equipment that are a little bit more, efficient than others and hitting different, different avenues that you want to go down. But with that said, the reason I brought up sublimation is because back when, let's say 3-4 years ago, the assumption was sublimation was you either have to know how to cut and sew and do full color garments, or you would just get this huge baggy polyester shirt that, you'd put it almost like a square on. We're kind of seeing some more of, it's almost like a t-shirt type of garment that's a little bit more form-fitting. It doesn't look like that baggy pillowcase that you're wearing. And I'm fortunate enough to be involved in this Michaels program with you because I've never even wrapped my brain around, like you said, we were so focused on apparel for years. I've never even wrapped my brain around starting to think about different decoration methods, things that you can that applies to us that we've never really dipped our toe in. So I'm fortunate for that.
Well, it's interesting being in those meetings too. Sometimes like we just had a meeting with Tracy and talking about potential new things that we can bring on and stuff. And as a crafter myself, like I'm always thinking about, okay, how can I make money doing this? Because if I can't figure out how I can make money doing it, I don't know how other people are going to figure out how to make money. And granted, everybody thinks differently and decorates differently and does different avenues. But there's just some of those things that I got really excited for because it's not so much of like, okay, one item or the other. It's, well, this item can complement this item. And I think that that's what the most important, and that's what the smartest tactic to go is like, you don't ever want to have a line where you're selling heat transfer vinyl, sublimation, and then, and maybe you do, maybe you don't, but like then screen printing equipment because they're too combative to each other,
Right.
So.
Well, and that's the one interesting key. I didn't finish my thought on the Easy Subly because what that did was that change from being able to apply to basically white polyester. Now you can sublimate this material and you can apply it to any color fabric in any fabric substrate. It can be cotton, it can be nylon, it can be whatever you want. So that's the interesting evolution there. And then the one key that we're kind of, that ties all of these things together, whether it's DTG or sublimation or heat transfer vinyl, the one common thing is the heat press that you use for all of those, which is kind of interesting. So
it's the brains.
People need to keep that in mind when they're looking to grow or shift. That's one versatile tool that can help you across a variety of decorating techniques. So
I like that. I like that. So I want to get a little bit more into you. Life outside of Siser.
That sounded wrong.
Is that weird?
Yeah. I think that's what she said moment.
No, you can keep that one in.
No. All right, we'll cut it right here.
No
way.
Yeah. I'm going to church.
Right? Listen, I'm so unaware sometimes of the things that I say.
Oh, I'm aware.
But this dude, this is why it's a good yin and yang, man. He catches all of this stuff.
Exactly. At least you didn't come out with you got a pretty mouth.
You got a pretty mouth. Anyways, I want to talk about your life outside of Siser, because I think, for one common thing for all of us is we're all dads.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We all have these,
things called children.
Three of us in the room are dads.
Which one of these things?
One wears the
not
dad's
like
hat.
the other.
The one that wears the dad hat is
the
not
one that
the
wears
dad.
the dad hat is not the dad.
Oh, daddy.
Yeah. But talk about, for you, just growing up, where are you from originally?
I was actually, born in the Detroit area in Pontiac, and I lived here for 3 years, but I grew up in Indiana.
Yeah.
So those were my formative years, from 3 through, the bulk of high school. And
that's where he gets that
college.
California vibe from.
Exactly. Way down south.
That's that California.
Yeah.
Well, I say it is
Indiana vibe.
The California vibe is just a very relaxed, laid back. That's all it is. You can't always make fun of me, man.
Where at in India?
Anyway,
grew up in Fort Wayne and my high school years in Indianapolis area. So, yeah.
So when
Indy's a fun town.
And then you came back to Michigan?
Yep. Yeah, I did. After my first year I was at college.
Yeah.
And then you
sure
got
that I
picked
went,
up.
but
You
I
got
was
picked
there.
up. Yeah. You attended.
No, exactly. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
So no. Anyway, so I've been back in Michigan, since the late '80s. So.
And you stayed a Lions fan.
Always a Lions fan. That's a curse, I think. But I read
Colts
an article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday that the columnist Jason Gay predicted the Lions to win the Super Bowl. So.
Wow.
I mean, it was tongue in cheek. It was a joke because 2020's been such a mess of a year. So why not pick the Lions to win
what if it happens?
It was a great article, though, for
You
anybody
should throw
who
1,000
cares.
on it. Go ahead.
Do you think I should throw money on it?
Why not?
I don't got that kind of money. That's okay. But
Is that because you're a dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because I'm a dad. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Go back to my original point. But talk about your life outside of here. I mean, what are some things that you normally get into? Because I know, what's funny is that when I first got here, Dave had a set of golf clubs in his office, but he only has a putter that sits there, and then the rest, for whatever reason, are still in the storage closet.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. Well, and then those are golf clubs too. My dad gave me, and I've still never hit them. So clearly, I don't go out golfing very often.
You did the outing, didn't you? Do the outing with Brett last year? Or the year before?
But I'm not the kind of guy who brings his own clubs either. So
Yeah.
I took the rentals at the pro shop
say,
there. So if I'm going to break a club, I'm going to break one of
Which
theirs.
they're not doing that outing this year, right?
No,
because
they,
of COVID and stuff.
yeah.
But
So
that was
they just sent out the announcement yesterday. I received
Really?
in
Yeah.
the mail for next year. So hopefully, and that's one of our really good partners, GSG, does a charity golf outing every
match,
year.
right?
Yeah, the Hank Granberry Classic, and it's in honor of the founder of their company who died of pancreatic cancer, and so it's a fundraiser for pancreatic cancer.
That's
So
really cool.
It's a great event and a great cause, and they're an amazing company and good people. So
we'll
fun
actually
to work
have Mallory in here next week, and Peyton's going to come in, or not come in,
sweet.
but
There
she
you
has
go.
school, so we'll do a remote with her as well to talk about her story.
Nice,
as well.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know anyone else that has a color named after her, so
Right.
congratulations,
Yeah.
Peyton.
We keep that
That's
on there
beautiful.
all the time.
Yeah.
Peyton Pink, baby.
Yeah, for
no.
sure. But no, as dads, we need you to teach us a thing or two, man. Because it's funny about you. And Brett mentioned this to me the other day about me, because I'm the kind of person like I don't like to bring home to work and work to home too much. I try to like really just be engaged here 100% of the time, and that's actually something that I kind of picked up from you, is because you know I've had conversations about our families and our religious views and different stuff like that in the past. But one thing I noticed about you is you never let that affect your work, and you don't let that affect you here as much as you can. Obviously, there's circumstances that change that. Yeah. But just talk about how you're able, especially through just whatever's going on in your life, how you're able to kind of remain the same and constant, because I think it's important for your work family, but also your personal family too.
Yeah, and well, so obviously I'm doing a fairly good job at faking it, because but when things are tough, sometimes that's what you have to do. You try to just, you get through it and you push through, because I think we all face that, right? And there's times you're going to have overlap both ways, even though you try not to let it happen. And what you said too is just being present where you are and trying to make sure you're mentally engaged, whether you're at work or when you're at home. And it's probably even more important when you're at home, especially when you have kids, because it's so easy to get distracted. I just know is one of the struggles I had as a dad and a husband, is thinking that whatever's going on in my head or my mind or what's next is more important than what your child needs at that time, or what your wife needs, whatever, and vice versa. And you lose track of that sometimes, and life can get in your way and you screw up, and so that's where you hopefully can be humble and you apologize and you try not to do it. So, but really the biggest thing is just when you're with your kids, be with them, be present, be engaged, be present, be there, be part of it. And is somebody who traveled extensively too for many years too. I was gone a lot. Yeah. But then, I always had that, mindset, like when I got home, I wanted to be done with my last call. And so I put the phone down when you go in the door. And that helps. So because they're great tools and they help make us be more efficient, and you can do a lot more things, but they're also a big distraction. Even at work, they can be a distraction too. So, trying to separate those is a good thing. And, and then trying not to be too hard on yourself, which I'm probably my own worst critic by far. But
I think we all are.
That's probably pretty common, but it's, maybe try to forgive yourself too.
Well, and I
got a lot,
and I pay a lot of respect to folks like you and Johan, who travel extensively and have kids. And again, you're absolutely right when you said it towards the top of the podcast. Is like, we got extremely lucky that, I did travel quite a bit early on, but with all of COVID happening right at the same time that I was having a new kid, like I didn't have to travel. So I didn't have to work around all of that. It kind of just naturally happened in my favor, I guess. But, the early days of traveling and understanding, like, I'm going to be on the road, potentially a week at a time, a couple of weeks, a month, whatever it was. How do you balance that?
Well, so I've been around a lot of people who've done it before me too, and so I had some pretty good mentors in my time that would give you sometimes that hard advice that you don't really want to hear. So so here's the tip: when you're on the road and you're out for a nice steak dinner, which doesn't happen very often. A lot of times it's just whatever you grab and things like that. And your wife calls and she's at home with 3 screaming kids or whatever you're dealing with. Number one, don't tell her you're having a steak dinner. Number one, tell her you had macaroni and cheese, whatever. And don't go into how tough your darn day was. Right? Because theirs is way tougher than what you're dealing with. So that was a little advice that I was given. I didn't, learn that all on my own. I'm not that smart. And
I'm having a blast.
Same guy who taught me that too also, just said, you know what? Get in the back of the bus and just enjoy it. And he said, maybe one day after your kids are grown up, you can maybe move up front by your wife. And that's just another thing too, because it is tough, and it's a juggle, and you try to get it right more than you mess up. And because we're gonna do both, and so
that's how we learn.
But
too, right?
It is right, and then other times too. We got each other too, and that helps where you can bounce it off. It's like, man, I'm really struggling with this, because some days you just need to let it out, and you have to have somebody you can talk to.
Well, that's funny. It's like, the only time there's really closed door conversations in this building is when you know that somebody's going through something. And it's really cool to be a part of this team, and I feel like I've said it the last few episodes we've been on. but to be a part of this team, to just know that you have support when you need it, you
Sure.
know. And so like for me, it's a lot easier to just kind of pack it up at the end of the day, go home, relax. And part of it is too, it's I try to run a business outside of here as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, like I try to pack everything up, wrap everything up on my drive home when I'm by myself in the car, and then when I get home, it's just I'm there, you know. But
Sure.
I know that if I need it, you know, I always have my team to rely on, and anybody and everybody here is willing to talk, you know, and I think it's because we've all
Absolutely.
collectively gone through the same thing,
Yep.
you know, and some of us have not been here as long as others, so
Sure.
you know, we almost look to those senior people here or people that are tenured here to really help you kind of get to the next step, because it's easy to get homesick. You
For
know,
sure.
especially when you're on the road, you're sitting on a plane, you're by yourself. That's like when you have all the time to think in the world. And it's like, you're like, fuck, dude, I want to go home. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'd rather be home than this. Or you know, you're at a show and it's getting towards the end of the day and you finally get to your hotel room and you're like, okay, I got to go do that again, which is always fun. Don't get me wrong. Trade shows, everything of that's fun. But like, when you're the kind of person that you really enjoy those moments that you feel like you can't get back, you know, it's tough. It gets tough.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and I'm always here for you too. I know you called me last night with fantasy football advice. And, hopefully, I led you in the right direction.
Whether good or bad, he said. And last night was bad. I was freaking out.
Call me ASAP. Call me ASAP.
Yeah.
Dude, what's going on? Hey, this flex thing.
Yeah. Hey, this running back, what do I do with him?
Okay, yeah.
Anyways.
Bench him.
Yeah, no. So we do a couple quick segments on every show.
Okay.
They're getting a little hokey and cheesy. We may
Should
not
I
make
stretch?
Yeah, you might have to. No. So I know that we had talked before, and you had been over to Roland's facility in Japan.
Yeah.
And I know that you've been
Wonderful
to
trip.
our HQ out in Italy as well.
Correct.
So one of the segments we do is it's called This or That. So if you had to pick for travel purposes, Japan or Italy?
This is a tough one because I've been a lot of places and they're my two favorites.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
So the fact that you picked the two
Means I'm a
best.
great employee.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
And you're fired.
And I got really lucky there with those questions.
It's been a lot of years since I've been to Japan, and I was a much younger person when I traveled there regularly. But it was so unique and so different. Europe and the U.S. are much more similar. You know, just as far as
Culture.
yeah. You know, everything. But I had such a wonderful time in Japan. I'd probably say that. Though, the food in Italy and the people in Italy are magnificent.
Yeah.
So, but I can say the same thing for Japan too.
Yeah.
But it was just so different. I'd probably say pick that.
More appreciated it more for the experience. that it
Exactly.
was.
I'd love to go back now that I'm older and,
Yeah.
and do it again. Yeah. And I would also like to go to Italy where I can just enjoy the place too versus working when you're there. So both I would love to do for a vacation.
Were you
sometime.
ever able to take family outside of the country for these
No.
things? No. That
Nope,
sucks.
not yet. Yeah.
Well,
So
you'll get there.
no, it's
Go to Japan.
maybe one day.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this as far as we ever got was Hawaii.
Well,
So
that's on my bucket list.
Yeah, but still
dream
part of the U.S. for those of you who don't know that.
I didn't know
Look
that.
at Rob. I was like, what?
Really? Really?
Yeah.
Part of
nah.
the 48?
The lower 48.
Part of the 48 states?
So when you went to Japan, I've heard a lot of people when they go to Japan, they think of all these things, and depending, I guess, where you're at, the food is not what you think it is, or you can only eat sushi for so long, and then you start to realize that the menus or the food offering is a lot different than what you have in your mind. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and it's different than going to a Japanese steakhouse. It's not like every meal you've got the guy in front of you
Right.
making jokes and chopping things up
Flipping
and
shrimp in his head, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So while that's fun, I've never experienced that over there because
Hibachi,
that's not what they technically serve. But Japan's no different than a lot of other places. They have, they have places with Korean food and they have Italian food and
Yeah.
they have a chicken place and
Yeah.
so it's you get a little bit of that and as you're learning, especially when I was younger too, my palate wasn't quite as open and expansive as it is perhaps today.
Yeah.
So there's a day that it's like McDonald's looks pretty good over there.
Yeah.
So, and if you're not a seafood lover, it's there's a lot of fresh, amazing seafood over there, which is really good.
Yeah.
But loved it, and it's. But it's not at all like you think over here.
Yeah.
No different than I've never been to Mexico myself, but I suspect their Mexican food in Mexico is a little different
It's
than here.
a lot different, yes.
As Chinese food in China is nothing like it is here.
Yeah.
What was one of the weirdest things that you ate when you were in Japan?
Well, he said he didn't have a good palate.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you said
so I
weird.
was always, when it comes to food, I'll eat anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah. So
If you're not going to eat that burrito, I'll have it. I remember that.
exactly.
Yeah.
You're just looking at it.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, so I don't think there was anything too crazy. There was a really nice fish that I had one time, a very expensive fish that one of our customers bought because it was a delicacy over there. And I apologize, I don't remember the name, but they bring it to you whole, and so it's scales and everything on, and you break it apart with your chopsticks and things like that. But the most significant part and the piece that's the most the delicacy of this whole dish is the eye.
Oh, really?
And so that was interesting because I hadn't eaten an eye before.
I mean, either.
So anyway, but it was kind of like one of those little candies that you bite and they pop in the goo.
Oh, like a gut.
Squirts
like
out?
Like a gut. What do they call those?
I don't know
Gummy
what those are
things.
called.
Yeah, I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Marble in the middle.
Yeah.
I've eaten my fair share of fish eyes.
Have you? Yeah. No. So it was actually, the taste wasn't bad. It was more of a weird texture thing and the pop.
That's like that. That's like
that
those,
you get when you bite into them.
those
So
teas now that have the little like.
Boba.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that
the
at all.
one.
That's weird, man. They get the little bubbles inside
Yep.
the. Oh, that's not for me.
Yeah.
They might be fish eyes. I don't know.
right. So that's probably
Anyway.
the most exotic thing that
Okay.
I've had
Okay.
over
That's
there.
cool.
So, but
Pro
it was
tip.
fun.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Pro tip. So, what is your for anybody that is a traveler? What is your ultimate travel hack or tip? Are you a
Oh,
neck
goodness.
pillow guy?
No.
Me neither.
No, I don't sleep on planes
Me
much.
neither. Yeah.
It's actually I tend to write when I'm on a plane. I don't know why I think better that way when I'm flying.
Yeah.
Travel. I mean, if you're going to be on the road, try to take advantage of the points, right? So
Okay.
pick a hotel chain, whichever one it is, and try to stay at those as much as
Consistent.
you
Yeah.
can, so you get the benefit out of it.
Yeah.
So, and that's while my family has not traveled with me internationally, we have traveled quite a bit, domestically over the years, and having points that you can snag a free hotel room,
Yeah.
especially when you got 5 kids and things like that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
expensive, and so hotel points come in handy. Get a credit card that helps enhance that as well, and use that for your expenses.
Yep.
When you're traveling with your
Yeah.
work friends, make them pay the bill because expenses are a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I
Going
agree.
back
Yeah.
to Brett. That's
I
exactly
agree.
what I got to do every time.
Yeah, exactly. Here, can you just pick that up?
Yeah, pick that
So,
up, man.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
buying this dinner, but I like it too because it's you get consistency with comfort. Like if you're a Best Western or Holiday Inn or whatever
Yep.
hotel you stay in, you sticking with that chain also gives you consistency. So like that's your one thing on the road that like okay, this is going to be the same every time. I'm used
For
to
sure.
this. Kind of helps the trip, I think.
It does, and everybody likes status too.
Yeah.
And so even though it doesn't really mean anything,
Yeah.
if you're diamond,
You're diamond,
yeah,
man.
hey,
Yeah.
at least you feel important to
Yeah,
yourself.
you got it. You're diamond.
I get a free
you guys
extra
don't have
bottle
clear?
of water.
Okay, you guys don't have clear. That's
Oh, you're not
cool.
gold. You're not even. You're not even gold.
All
Yeah.
right, well,
Get out of my face.
bye.
Do you have any travel tips that you live by?
Mine, quite honestly, my biggest thing is I like to sleep on the plane. That's like my biggest thing that I can do is like I
That's
like
your
to,
tip.
That's my.
What if I can't sleep on the plane though?
Well, if you can't sleep on the plane, I got another tip for you. You just let me
Right?
finish. Right on the plane. No, but yeah, I like to always try to get like an aisle seat. And I know this sounds really weird because some people aren't aisle people. For me, my travel tip in doing an aisle seat is that although there's other people that can kind of get, they got to navigate around you. I feel like the safest. Like I'm kind of a claustrophobic person.
You
So
don't like to be next to that
no,
wing.
so if you're claustrophobic, like the wing. No, the wing is no. We'll get into that at a different time. But being by the window, I feel too like shut into this little box. But when I'm in the aisle seat, I feel like I have more, I don't know, I'm more mobile.
Okay.
That's it.
Sure.
I've got two.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a plane that doesn't break right where the wings are at?
Nope.
Just
never
saying.
seen it.
I don't know if that was your fear, but it should be now.
No, it is. Good. Awesome.
Buddy Holly coming your way.
Right. But no, my travel tip, though, that's like if it's not
Like an actual
related,
tip, yeah.
is the hotel. The hotel
the
chain.
consistency with
the
it.
consistency with it. The hotel chain
Yeah.
is that's the big one.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've got two. One of them is the rolling of the clothes technique, so you can fit more in your bag. I think that's a good one. I don't know if you guys have ever done that.
Yeah.
But instead of just folding it flat, roll them up tight. Don't have to iron them. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Number
Sounds
two.
very involved.
Number two. Pack the night before. For
The
sure.
night before,
Yeah, I always pack the night before.
I'm like a 2-day packer. Like,
No, I mean when you're departing, when you're coming back.
oh, okay, I gotcha.
Pack the night before you leave. The
Oh
hotel.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you'll notice this too is Chad likes to wake up. We're got to leave at 7 a.m. He likes to wake up at 8:30 in the morning so we can get on the road.
Well, you never know what might occur the night before, so at least you're prepared to go.
Okay, I gotta give you
So
that.
That's my tip number two.
Good. All right, and then last.
Yeah. Drink espresso, not coffee, so you don't have to go to the bathroom all the time.
Exactly.
Bingo. Or don't hit sheets. Bad suggestion. Anyways, last
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, baby. Always at Sheets.
Customize it all you want.
last segment, and then we'll get you out of here, man. Is what's your favorite? So this one is. For this, we're gonna spin it a little bit. Proudest moment of your career thus far.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I'm trying to reflect back, of all the different things, and seriously, and this may sound a little corny,
Never.
but truly, when I joined this team here, everything changed,
Yeah.
and so much for the better. And I had a wonderful career where I was before.
Yeah.
It was fantastic, but it was just a different world, a fresh start, everything about it. So it wasn't even about, because we have little accomplishments and things like that you can say you've
Hang your hat on,
experienced and I was a part of this or whatever, which are always cool. But it's about, being able to enjoy every day. I love coming into work. Honest to God, that's part of the reason why I try to get in first.
Yeah.
Because I like being here. I enjoy being the one to make coffee for everybody else.
Yeah.
That first pot of the day. I know everybody else makes coffee throughout the day.
Yeah.
But it makes me feel
like a
good and
simple
proud
service,
and part.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's
And
good
just-
camaraderie. I mean,
yeah, it is. And so anyway, but just being part of this is it's been phenomenal.
Good.
I would
Very,
agree.
very
I
blessed.
haven't been here that long, but I would agree.
Well, we have
It's
conversations
something
about that all the time. Is like, there's some things that when little things happen here and there, you just kind of question yourself, especially if you were in an industry like I was in that was so cutthroat, and then coming here where they're like, yeah, man, just kind of go with the flow, do your thing, have confidence to grow, and make sure that you're telling people how you feel. If you don't like something, say it. Like, say you don't like it, and then why? That's it.
Sure.
And we talk about that a lot, actually, just off air and when we're at home or whatever, just kind of have those conversations with ourselves of like,
Right.
it's been pretty incredible to be a part of it.
Besides besides actually joining the team, I remember reading an article that you were involved in. Did you accept an award on behalf of Siser for Michaels?
Yeah, so I mean those are always cool when you get to
That's
be
what I
that
mean.
representative
Yeah.
who gets a vendor of the year kind of award like we did. And
I mean, that seemed like a big deal. I wasn't there, but
it's really it was pretty cool. It was a proud moment, but again, it wasn't me because it's not me who does everything for them.
Correct.
And it's the team and the brand and everything that
100%.
accepted. I happened to be the one who got to go up on stage and receive it. So the first time we got it, I was alone and did that. The second time, fortunately, Jan was able to be with me.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so it was a great honor.
Did you have to do a speech?
No, thank goodness. Yeah, 'cause especially those off the cuff ones where you're not prepared. Those stink.
Yeah.
No. So no
I want to
speech.
thank the Academy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
No. So it was it was pretty low key. You just had to stand up there and not fall.
Okay.
That's it. That's good. Hey, man, I appreciate you hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me, and thanks
goes
for
quick.
rescheduling too. So
Yes.
Thank you for working with us too. So,
you got it.
Made sure we were more prepared this time.
Absolutely.
No, thank you sincerely for coming on. And real quick before we go, it is 9/11 today, so I just want to say, our thoughts and prayers for anybody that's been affected by that, and never forget. Right, that's the slogan.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you for saying that. That's really important that we don't forget.
Well, and we posted something earlier today of just reposted Russ's story of him being literally on a flight during this time, and it's a scary time for everybody. So, yeah, definitely never forget that stuff.
Well,
for sure.
I think regardless of what your views are politics or anything crazy going on in the world right now, I think it's important to remember how we reacted as a country and as a species when this happened
the amount
today.
of unity,
And I think we need to get back to that.
Yeah,
so
100%. And we promised early on in this thing we'd never get political, but we'll leave it at that.
That's it.
We'll leave it at that.
That was it.
All right, we love you guys. Anything you want to know about the Decor8 podcast, we're on all social media platforms. By the time that this comes out, we will be on the website. So,
teaser.
Yeah, little teaser. You can go on SiserNA.com and find us on there, which you can find all of our content on YouTube, Instagram, all our social media platforms. We've said it a million times. People know DECOR, the number 8. Dave, thanks for hanging out with us again, man.
Thank you guys for having
buddy.
me.
All right, we love you guys.
See you later.
Goodbye.